Welcome back to Rift of Nations. Like it's a talk show or something. Session 9 just wrapped up. Literally, they just left. It's always film these things with you guys because I want you guys to be in on this of what happened from the DM perspective after the session. So you're in it along with me, and eventually, who knows, we could get these things to be live streamed and all this kind of stuff. Whoa! Anyway, I can dream, right? So how I'm going to start this off is how I always start it off now. Again, let me know what you guys think about this. I want to say what I thought was going to happen, what I was DM prepared to happen, and then shift into actually what really went down, and possibly some behind the scenes shifts and moves and other things that DMs have to do as their players do some crazy stuff. Because man, oh man, was there some crazy bombs my players dropped on this one. So, and some big DM nuggets to learn from too. So here we go. This is my Notion campaign log right here. I usually start off the session with some housekeeping stuff with like rules and whatnot. Like, oh, this was that. Oh, make sure we're good here. Remember this, remember that, other stuff like that. Cool. We pick up in the Darius Patron Challenge. This is the Green Dragon Sarathis, who is Darius's patron, who's the one who's granting Darius his powers. Sarathis cannot act on the world. He has to have his avatar act on the world. This is a lore reason why green dragons can't just go solve all the problems, or these heroes that you see in the world and your NPCs come across powerful your players come across powerful NPCs. Why can't they just go fix the problem? You know, either they have stuff going on or their hands are tied in some other way or whatever. So there is some lore in place here where Sarathis cannot, if Sarathis acts and gives some sort of help towards someone in this way, magically giving things like that, if he himself does it, then the other side of the coin, the other evil dragons, the nightmare dragon, the other things, that more lore stuff that I don't want to get into here, but there are 5 dragons. One real bad, one really good, one neutral, and 2 that are kind of halfway between that. You know what I'm saying? So if he does anything, the more he acts on the good side of things, the more freedom that gives these dragons to act, because they all have a balance to keep things even playing field, right? So anyway, this patron can only act so much, and each of the 5 dragons, they get to choose an avatar, a champion for themselves to grant them power, but that person has to take that power, grow it themselves, be empowered themselves, and then that doesn't count, and that's off of the table as far as the magic goes, or as far as the rules of the dragons go. So anyway, we picked up in the middle where Sarathis has the entire party. So the Darius, the warlock, Sarathis is his patron. You get it. Darius he was told to take everyone who you care about, take your loved ones and bring them here so you can save them. What he was saying is he's going to put their lives in danger, and then you have to save them. But he was talking very cryptically. So Darius takes his love interest, who's this NPC, his girlfriend, basically. This is session 9 at this point. They've had 8 sessions worth of whatever. And the other 3 of his party members. So that's 4 total. And they also brought in some other party members, right? Some other people that Ivar cares about, some other NPCs that they care about. Not necessarily Darius cares about, but just other NPCs. Everyone brought the people that everyone cares about. So, in this moment, they're in a stand that they're going back and forth. Sarathis is pissed at Darius, his chosen patron, or he's the patron of. You get it. He reached out to him and brought these people here because Darius turned him down. Darius stopped casting magic. He stepped away from the book. He literally put the book up, put a note in it, put it away, not casting magic anymore, right? For all the reasons I listed off beforehand. And if you watched episode 8 of this thing, I was stumped. I was like, what would this dragon do? And I had to really think about it, and this dragon would be pissed. And he's not going to talk nicely. He's not going to be, cordial about it. He's going to, all right, I'm going to make you cast magic. How can I make you cast magic? I'm going to put your loved ones in danger. Cast magic. you know, almost to prove a point, you know, and even at a big picture level to have Darius believe in himself, because Darius kept saying like, I can't do anything with this magic. Oh God. When really he shows him through these visions in the clouds swirling around in the middle of this cave. They had this like these clouds are forming around with these green lights showing images of stuff happening as some like, you know, visuals from the past of all these different times that Darius has accomplished things with his magic, right? So I didn't know what was going to happen. I legitimately thought that I was going to kill somebody. I thought that I was ready to, and this is the part of the DM. I don't know what's going to happen. I had an encounter with vine golems prepared, ready to throw at them to see if Darius would cast magic. Then I was going to kill Petra. I'm pretty sure I was going to kill Petra, his NPC love interest. I was going to kill her. I was almost dead set on that. That was for sure going to happen. He was going to kill her. And then once he killed her, he'd have that over his head, be like, all right, cast magic. Or else I can revive her if you cast magic. You know what I'm saying? Which was not the vibe I wanted to go for as a patron. And I'm going to have a little mini timeout moment right here. I had a moment probably 3 days ago as a dungeon master. I was like, okay, I want to not have my voice be too prevalent here in the story that I'm telling. It's because it's a collaborative storytelling. I want to tell a story with my players at the table and see where it goes. And where I was getting into the headspace of is I was so in Sarathas's headspace. I was so in my own thoughts of Sarathas and what he would think and all this kind of stuff. And how dare he I'm going to kill his girlfriend. I'm going to all these thoughts, right? It doesn't make sense. Why is he not casting magic? This is ridiculous. Look at all the facts that laid out in front of you. What's, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I want to see where the player of Darius takes this. I want to see where he wants this to go, you know? Not that I'm just going to listen to whatever he says and then go that way and then be like, okay, everything always works out. Yay, because that feels bad. I want to make sure that doesn't happen. But I had a reality check with myself as a dungeon master and be like, make sure I stay neutral, as DM should. What is the dice? What story are the dice telling? What are the players trying to make happen? Let's see what the dice say, right? Be prepared, but let's see what the dice say. So I came into this. I was so prepared, guys. Check this out. I had entire dialogue. This part with the checkboxes in it is things that I already said in session 8, at the end of session 8, before I stopped it in the middle of this as a cliffhanger. And then all of this, all the times you didn't do this, you'd have this, all these different points that I was making about the things he's done, all this kind of stuff that's happened. I had all of this prepared, a list of challenges to throw at him of weather and him having to using spells and energies. I had comebacks prepared, ready to go into. I had Sarathas's needs. What does Sarathas need? What does Sarathas want? Consequences of what could happen if things go wrong. Rewards that happen if things go well. All these things I was ready for. Resolution, I had some lore about the dragons. Rewards that I had for Ivar, Clara, and Q, and Darius himself. All of this prepared. But man, oh man, did a lot of that go out the window as soon as everything went down. So the final part of what I had prepared as a dungeon master is I had prepared what this whole dragon interaction with all of the possible, however good it could go. Another bad thing is I was going to kill all the players. All the players would have been killed, and then the dragon would have brought them back. But under my resurrection rules, which you can see my resurrection video on the main channel, on the Dungeon Coach channel, is there's a resurrection DC, which is 10. And as soon as you die, it adds 2 to it, right? And it keeps going up and up and up and up, right? So I would have killed them all, and it would have raised their DC by 2. And is that big of a punishment? I mean, kind of, yeah, it's your character, right? So I was going to kill all of them with the dragon and then bring them all back with the dragon, and they just have their DC would have been, and my players know the mechanics of this, and they would have understood the ramifications of what that really means. So it would have felt, oh, whoa, you know, and that's kind of what I was going for, is this gravity of what this dragon's capable of. I was totally prepared to kill all of them, and the dragon would have brought back the 3 other player characters, because that'd be super bad to kill a player character because of another player character's patron relationship. And I was going to bring back all the other 3 players, and they'd be back to normal, but they'd have that DC increased for their resurrection DC, which again, you can watch that video for that. But I was going to keep Petra dead, and that was going to be my bargaining chip and all this kind of stuff. But then again, that kind of, I was like, this feels real bad. I don't want to have this negative patron. Like, I want it to be a pot, you know? So here's what happened. Here we go. I start going into it, and I have each of the players that they are. I paint the stage. I set the tone, and set the stage for how bad things are right now. You're completely restrained. The water is rising, and the vines are pulling you down. So they're completely restrained, getting pulled underneath water. like restrained underwater. This is the whole thing it was going for. It was not good. And he starts going into it. And here's what Darius threw down. This is maybe one of the biggest moments that I was dealt a curveball by a player that I thought had no chance. But again, I had a moment as a dungeon master a few days before. Come into it with a clean slate. Let's see what happens. Hear it out. Don't be too opinionated. Don't be too heavy-handed. Listen up. And man, I just got chills again thinking about it. Here's what Darius said to this ancient green dragon who's trying to kill everyone around him who he cares about. And essentially, literally everyone, because he has amnesia. He doesn't remember where he came from. He doesn't know his past. These are his people. These are essentially his family, and he's fighting for their lives. And was able, and I just got chills again, he was able and willing to offer up his own life. And so here's what he said. I'm going to reference the points here. I had all the stuff I'm showing here about all the different dragon stuff, of like what he needs, what he wants, these triggers of like how to get through to the dragon. So Darius throws down. He prepared this beforehand. He had this little thing he was reading off his phone, these little points that he was making. Oh man, so good. He goes, "You need me. If you didn't need me, you would just leave me. I left the magic so that you could go and choose somebody else. I'm not the person. I can't do this. I don't know how. It's too much for me. I'm all the types of stuff that he said in the letter, right? So one thing, he reflected it back on himself. Instead of saying like, I doubt you and woe is me, I can't do it. He was like, it's this power is so much. I don't know how to control it. I've tried to talk to you, and you as a patron haven't been communicated with me. You've been so cryptic in your talking and speaking. I don't understand what you're saying." That's one thing. That was one point for Darius, right? But the dragon had to be cryptic because of all the stuff I said about how the magic works and how the dragon lore works in this campaign. Of if he acts and does something for them, the others can act, right? So the more he does, the more that the evil dragons and the evil side of the coin can do, right? So he was purposely being that way, but it still made sense, and that was a great point. And you need me. That was the second thing. You need me. I am your chosen one. Well, you can't use me if I kill myself. And he was offering himself up. He literally got a dagger to his body and was willing to kill himself. And I was like, whoa. This is a whole nother level now. This is a whole nother level that he was going for. And I told him at the table, I said, you have free control over your health and how much damage you want to give to yourself. I wasn't going to have it be dice roll, because then that's weird and clunky and stuff. I was like, what you have 23 total health. How much damage you want to do to yourself? And I just purely asked him. He's like, all right, I'm going to deal 6 points of damage. And he dealt 6 points of damage to himself. I was like, okay, like, how much do you mean this thing? And he's like, I will not reach it. I will not be like work like this. If you truly want to work with me, I don't want to work with somebody that is like this. I would rather give my life up, and then you don't have anything. So let them go right now. I was like, dang, wow. So he offered up his own life for his family around him. Now it's a dark tone, it's an aggressive tone, and like it got real at the table right then, because essentially this is like, I know it's like hot button type suicide type of stuff happening at the table here that we're all feeling, right? And this is where you have to have I could do a whole full video about like boundaries and social boundaries of where people feel comfortable and everything. Everybody's felt comfortable. That was not a trigger for anybody, but it got real. Like everyone felt it at the table, like, whoa, like this is for real right now. And the whole thing elevated. I just got chills again. So he put that on the table, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And he didn't stop there. He kept going. He said, you are my patron. You offer up power and you give me power, but yet this is how you do it. I reached out to you and talked to you, and you do this to me. You threatened to kill the people I love instead of just trying to talk to me and reach out to me. You could have just talked to me, but yet you choose this course of action, just like you do with your son. I was like, whoa, what? There was a moment oh my God, I'm getting so many chills just talking about this story. I'm a father. I have a son. He's a year and a half right now. And this, I literally just hit me to my core when he said it like that, because last session, it hit me. Last session, the kid, when I was role playing the little kid, the kid dragon, he's like a 6-year-old boy who's his son, the son of Sarathis. He's like, yeah, my dad's real mean. He doesn't like, and so like he opened up about how like his dad's mean, and like he'll take it out on you, and he'll like almost like, is it child? I didn't say it was child abuse. I didn't go that route. I didn't say that, but I was like, I could definitely, thinking back on it, like maybe that was the tone that was set out there. And so he took the abuse that this Seraphis, this ancient green dragon, the abuse he was giving out to everyone around him was the same abuse that he was giving his son. I was like, oh my God, it was insane. I just got chills again. It was insane. I was essentially speechless at the table. I was like, I leaned back and I just had a moment. Everybody was like, wow. Like I felt it. Everyone felt it. It was nuts. I wanted to, at that moment, I wanted to be like, it's over. It's over. You win. You win this interaction. You have won this social encounter. Wow. And throw everything out the window. But I was like, okay, I know I'm shaken as a dungeon master from what he's saying, because it's speaking to me as a father. How perfect is this shirt? Look at that. But I was like, all right, here we go. First of all, I gave him an inspiration dice just immediately. I was like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. I need you to make a persuasion check with advantage. And I just gave him advantage because of freaking everything that he said. And yeah, so he rolled and he got a 21, and then he used his inspiration dice and got a 25. I have a whole different way I do inspiration. It's a D6s. I give out D6s. They can add them to any roll. Anyway, he got 25 and I was like, oh, wow. Okay, here we go. So then he releases everyone but Petra. He releases from the vines and constraints everyone but Petra. The water subsides and still holding on to Petra. And they had this little back and forth, and he continued to lay into it about like, I want to be able to do better at this, but I don't know how. I tried reaching out to you 3 times and all you send me are these cryptic and he's like, I can't. And they start to have a true back and forth. And I was able to role play a broken dragon that is at his own wit's end because his hands are tied. He's constrained. He can't act on this whole thing. Also, for some more backstories behind the scenes, Seraphis was not born a dragon. He was a normal chosen person, kind of like Darius was chosen, and he ascended and became a dragon, almost like a curse. Like you could think of it like a dragon curse, is that this dragon chooses somebody, they become their avatar, and eventually this person dies and this avatar becomes the dragon. So essentially Darius has no idea about this, but Darius is on the path to become an ancient dragon, which is crazy. He has no idea about that, though. They think that this is legitimately a dragon, when this is just someone who was turned into a dragon through the course of this magic and this curse check and balance system that's in place here. So this person is literally chained in some ways through this curse to what he's capable of. And Darius is calling him out on it. And he's like, this is how I have to. So there's a then I was able to, my goal as a dungeon master here, I wanted them to leave this conversation not hating this Seraphis, that was a big deal, and they all kind of hate him right off the bat. They all hate him right now because they're trying to kill him, and it's bad. I wanted to be able to win it over, especially after all these bombs were dropped in this way. I wanted to try and win him over. So I was like, okay. So I continued to bring things back. I asked for another persuasion check after some more back and forth, not to give a full play-by-play of the conversation. I think you get the gist of what was happening here, because wow. I went and asked each of the different people, what do you think of Darius? And try to bring them in on it. Because I didn't want the other players at the table just to be kind of sitting there as watching the show. Because but it was a show. So then he releases Petra, because he asks Darius, like, how do I know you're going to do this? And he's like, you don't. You have to trust me. We have to be partners in this. Less of a patron and more of a partner. And I was like, wow. So with some more rolls here and there, back and forth, the whole thing, like all of those different layers, they combat with the vine golems. I scrapped it. That's not where the story was going. I had all of this stuff prepared. I scrapped all of it because, man, Darius, the player, Darius's player, came up with some amazing things that Darius would have 100% thought of. Was in the moment, in the character of Darius, in his head, saying all these things. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So ended all that, everything, all the tension. Everybody's released. Everybody's fine, and they're all just talking now about what's going on, what's going forward. They have some side. He's like, I can't say much, but I can only talk to you about things you know. I cannot give you new information, because if I give you new information, that gives the other side of the coin some room. I described it as a rope. If I give you an inch of rope, they get an inch of rope, right? So I could tell you the answer to that, but I don't think it's worth it because of what they could do as well. So it's this cool little interaction that they have here. So now, I wanted to bring in everybody else. And after all of this is said and done, I wanted to talk to Ivar, the fighter, Clara, the artificer, and Q, the barbarian, who's secretly a warforged. I wanted to talk to all of them and see what their interaction was. So one by one, he shifted back into his human form and went and talked to each of them. And he talked to Ivar and said, like, you have these visions. I understand you see these things. You can see into a mirror of this, and little hints and nuggets as to what he's seeing into the nightmare realm, right? So he hinted at some things, and then he says, do you trust me? And he reached his hand out to shake his hand. And this is me asking the players, do you trust them? If they trust this green dragon, he was going to give them a huge boon buff type situation, a permanent boost to their character. If they say no, they get a little boost, right? So I asked Ivar, here we go. Here it is. So here's the dragon lore that I had for each one, the resolution, and after the fight's done, Ivar had all these things, and he was going to get bonus to his wisdom. I was going to give him +2 permanent stat increase to wisdom. Story. This isn't the characters leveling up. This is a story stat boost, giving them stats because it makes sense. So the dragon boost would be his wisdom. Wisdom is his weakness. It's why his vision and he sees things. It's what affects his wisdom, or affects him in a. If he increases wisdom, it would help with that. There you go. Clara, she thinks too much. She's too intellectual. She has to become a well-rounded individual to truly be able to do all of this. Not focus so much on smarts. You have to also focus on the rest of your body and your physicality and stuff. So he was going to increase her dexterity and cure her rot. She's inflicted with rot. He was going to cure her rot. And then Q, she was going to give him and grant him more powers over nature and all these other types of things. Oh my gosh, I never did that. Making a note of that right now. Nature boost. I never gave him the nature boost. So then this is now, as a dungeon master, I'm going to have to go back and retcon, like, oh, hey, by the way, when you're at the dragon thing, this happened. Because in all of this chaos, in all of the curveballs that I got thrown, I forgot about that. Because what happened was... Ivar did not trust them. He said, no, I don't trust you. So I said, your wisdom permanently increases by 1. I had to make a wisdom saving throw, and I asked if he failed, if you want to choose to fail it. You can choose to fail this throw or make it. And so he made the saving throw. There was no DC to this saving throw. Technically, if it was the dragons, it would be a DC 23 because that's how everything was. And they would have failed it anyway. But it was more so, did they try and stop it or not? That was what I was saying. Do you want to fail the save? If they said I purposely fail, I would have given him +2 wisdom, and their wisdom ability score would have increased by 2. Their modifier would increase as well. Awesome. If not though, then you only get 1. And they kind of get that feeling as well. So Ivar did that, the fighter, and he didn't trust him. Clara didn't trust him, and they only got those limited stat increases. But then he gets to Q. Q is a warforged. The other 2 players, the fighter and the warlock, Ivar and Darius, they don't know that he's a warforged. Clara, the artificer, knows. But he asked him, he says, I know what you're capable of, but you hide it. You hide it, just like Darius is hiding and running away from his own magic. And this is the time out here. This is the theme of the campaign: fear, and not holding yourself back and acting on your fears, which is a weird thing to say. Act on your fears, follow your dreams, act on your fears. It's like polar opposites. But with Darius not casting magic, like when him putting a book away, he's following his fears. He's acting on his fears. He's afraid of the magic, and he's removing himself from it, right? Q is afraid of showing himself, so he's acting on that by putting this cover on himself, by hiding under the armor, restricting himself, literally slowing himself down. He's a barbarian that's wearing armor mechanically, like he's actually wearing armor. So that's hurting him, and he's holding himself back because he's afraid of what he is, right? So he has this moment with him, and I talk very cryptically. I say, you have so much power untapped within you, yet you hide what you are, what you're capable of. Why? And so the Q is like, had this little cryptic conversation back and forth. He says, do you wish to reveal? And no, I had the vines come up from the floor and touch him, and I went over to the table and whispered to him, is you can reveal. He's asking you, do you want to reveal your true identity and open and let go of the fears and reveal yourself and show who you really are, or do you want to keep it a secret? If you do keep it a secret, I will not say anything. So I went and told him that at the table, and he had to sit on it. He's sitting there. I gave him a few seconds, and I went to the next person. I went to Darius and moved on because I didn't want him. I wanted to really let him choose, because I didn't want to reveal his identity. I want that to be his choice. I want him to be able to choose when he reveals that. That's his secret to share, right? I wanted him to be comfortable with it. So, I came back to him a little bit later, and he did say, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell everybody. And I was like, okay. And so then he got to describe himself taking off his armor and revealing underneath his armor that he's a Warforged. He turned off the illusion, and you see his Warforged face revealing himself in this raw moment of revealing who he truly is. And he was even like acting ashamed, or just kind of like, this is what I am. And everyone at the table was like, wow, that's awesome. I love, this is so cool. And like very embraced it, and like kind of dove into it. So again, a little meta time. I just had another chills. Like the vibes of this group is awesome. I love this group so much. We are able to hit on tones like the stuff about being able to identify who yourself is, and being able to say who you are, and like reveal yourself to the people you care about. And like there's that theme going on there, and there's a theme of this dark thing that we had before. So there's all these different themes that this group is talking with. I'm gonna probably check in with everybody, make sure everybody's good after this, but I just love where it's at, and I love what kind of stories we're able to tell with each other and feel comfortable with each other talking at the table. So anyway, enough of the sappy meta moment there. But Q reveals himself, and that's when he gets his wild magic. He's a wild magic barbarian, and that's the moment that he gets his wild magic. Because again, I want to tie with these subclasses that all of these players chose. They leveled up to level 3 last session, but I told the player, you don't have wild magic surge yet. You don't have wild magic. You're not a wild magic barbarian yet. You're level 3. You got the health of a level 3. You got all the whatever, sure, but you cannot do any wild magic yet because the story hasn't happened yet. I'm tying literally his subclass happened in this moment. I had this lightning come down and strike him, and all this energy comes off of him. That is the moment that he became a wild magic barbarian. That moment that's tied to the story, not because they happen to hit level 3, and because you hit level 3 you get the subclass, so now you can do all these things now. That just no. It's just all connected, right? So anyway, so now that was a big, huge moment, and they had this whole interaction to finish the conversation with it. And this was a really cool social encounter with this dragon, and this bigger things going on, foreshadowing of a lot of different stuff. So there you go. They made their way back. There's some other cool things going on, but just some more flavor type things. They interacted with the kid again, Thalos, the son of Serathis. And yeah, it was this, they didn't dive into, I wanted to know how much lore they were going to get and dive into, but they didn't poke too much on all of that. So cool. They left and went on their way, and now back into they made their way back to the city, and they kind of talked with each other. And then they talked with Commander Broadstone, which is the second in command of the mech militia army of the Tech Nation of Aldor. A lot of different little vocabulary there. The Tech Nation is called Aldor. It's the nation of Aldor, but I'm calling it the Tech Nation in these videos because it helps keep track of these different nations. He's second in command. Boom. So he brought them in there, and they told him everything. They told him about the nations. They told him about all this stuff, and they had this whole, again, this was a very social heavy session here. There could have been a combat, but then there wasn't. And then there's a cool moment where they all had a little training scene with each other. I had them roll some stuff, and they had a little bit of mini combat thing, but it was more so for fun. So I want to kind of get some combat action in there, kind of. So then they're talking with Commander Broadstone, and they let him in on everything. And then Commander Broadstone tells them about what he's privy to telling them. He's not trusting them implicitly, but he gave them a special task. And what I gave them the option of is I gave them 2 locations, and I described problems going on in these 2 locations. There's the ruins, something's going on. There's 2 different, the Grasslands Nation and the Wanderers are fighting over the ruins. And also these people are fighting over the entrance into the mountain area. Which of these 2, so I gave them 2 options of which location to go to. And then once they chose which option to go to, there was another choice. Look at all these options. I love the sandboxing, right? They could either join the frontline forces and go into mass combat warfare, or take a sneaky route and sneakily do an infiltration type mission, right? Where they have to sneak in being not seen. And so I wanted to give them the choice of what kind of game do I want to play, right? I haven't prepared anything of it yet because I didn't know which one they're going to make, and I'm not crazy and do it all beforehand. But I do have a mass combat system that I'd be ready for, and they ended up choosing the stealth mission. So they want to go to the stealth mission at the ruins. So I was like, cool, let's go. So that's where they ended up choosing. They let Broadstone in on everything, and there was a really interesting interaction. And this is the they were all talking about different things. They had inside jokes and they were saying in front of Broadstone, whatever. And then they're like, hey, her cat's not a cat, because they know that Clara's cat is not a cat. And he's like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, no, it's just a little joke. He's like, okay, so like I'm not a human, you know? And they're like, what? Wait, what? He's like, yeah, because like I was just saying like, oh, that's not a cat, when obviously it is a cat. And he's like, oh, I'm not a human, but obviously he is a human. And they're like, wait, what? And they jumped on it. I was like, what? And they're like, insight check. And I am just releasing an insight video. Actually, I haven't released it on the main channel yet, so maybe it's out there, maybe it's not yet. But insight checks of this kind, I roll behind my screen. I don't want them to make an insight checks like this. I don't want them to know the result, because it would be so much more stupid. And again, I have a whole video on this rant, but basically, if I let the player roll the insight check, if I let them roll it at the table and they roll a natural 20, whatever I say would be a fact, and they would become a human lie detector, and that's not fun. And now all the other players know as a fact, and it corrupts their role play. So I was like, here we go. And I know that players, the good players could still, that's metagaming. Good players could not, you know what I'm saying? Okay, I want them to preserve that gem in their head. So I rolled a d20 behind the screen, and I rolled a 4. His modifier is a -1, right? So that player's not that insightful anyway. So what I said was I was like, you know, when he says that, it's a little weird. Why would he say he's not a human? You feel like he's not a human. There's something to that right there. There's definitely something to that. And he's like, oh. So now the rest of the players have this weird moment that we're like, okay, he's a human. I'm telling you guys right now. He is a human, but the rest of the group, they literally, it was like a theme for the whole rest of the session of like, yeah, because we're all humans, right? And then when the session ended, I was like, I made a little note of it. I made a little note like, haha, whatever. And then at some point they're like, oh yeah, because Q's a robot. And then I was like, oh, make a deception check. And then he actually beat Clara in the deception check when she just said like, oh, Q's a robot. And he like he beat Clara in a deception versus insight or whatever check, and he saw that she was like serious about it, but then acted like joking. So he's on to her about that. But then they're on to him about being a human when he really is a human. So I thought that was really funny. But now, as a dungeon master, making some shifts and moves behind the scenes, I feel like I want to change him to be not a human. Like, I feel like he should not be a human anymore. I feel like I need to now retcon, change him into being not a human to fit into this thing. And it makes me think, and right now, I'm not going to lock this in, but I think he's going to be a shifter. He's going to be a shifter from the Swamplands. That's probably what I'm going to have him be. He's going to be some sort of shifter from the Swamplands and be able to change his appearance in some way. And that's going to be his whole thing. And I think that I might run with that, because this really interesting thing that they just picked up on weirdly from some weird joke that I made. Literally, I made a joke saying something obvious, and they just ran with it. So I just want to kind of go with that story and see where they go, because this is such cool about D&D is, like, I could say like, no, he's just a human, and eventually they find some sort of magic or true sight or something, and they find out, and he's a human. That's just lame. So yeah, anyway, I got some changes to make with him. So they finished up, they chose their mission, they're going to the secret stealth section, and now I get to plan out the ruins and what's going on in the ruins. There's going to be a dungeon there for sure. Lots of really cool stuff's going to go down there. I'm excited to flush that out. I'll probably do it in a live stream in some way. And then stealth mission, that's going to be really cool too. And I want to have some sort of mass combat thing happen later, because the cool mass combat that I had with all these nations at war, I'm gonna have to put that on the back burner and put it in there somewhere else, because I really do want to get the feeling of war out there. So yeah, that's the whole session. It was super cool. I had no idea the dragon thing was going to go the way it did. Hopefully y'all can see how all of that went. But my advice to dungeon masters is just let let the dice tell the story, let the players do their thing. Y'all are collaboratively telling a story together, and don't be too heavy-handed with what you think's going to happen, because man, oh man, the story we all tell together is going to be the best story, because 5 writers are better than 1, and that's the thing I'll end on with this cool session with lots of good feels, lots of a full spectrum. You had some dark tones, we had some light tones, we had some really cool empathetic. It was awesome. It was awesome. So anyway, I hope you guys like these things. I love making them. Giving y'all some insight into my world here until I can actually show y'all live and in person. So stay creative. Think outside that box. Peace.